Do you really want to run the risk of loaning money to a family member or a friend and having them not pay you back? That's going to get awkward really quick. But what if you could loan money to a complete stranger and actually make interest on that loan? You could actually make good money. That might be something that you're interested in. Today we're going to talk about peer-to-peer lending, how it works, the risk involved. We're also going to talk about my favorite peer-to-peer lender, which is LendingClub. And I'm actually going to invest $5,000. I'm going to show you how to open the account, put in my first $5,000 to show you how I would choose my investment strategy. Now, like any investment out there, there are some risks. So we're going to cover all of that in today's video. Are you ready to check it out? Let's do it. All right, let me tell you, you do not want to loan money to family or friends, and I can speak from experience. I've had some really close family members ask me to loan them money, and I had to say no. It was a very hard thing for me to do, but I knew that I had to do it because what happens when that family member doesn't pay you back? That's going to make Christmases and birthday parties and family get-togethers really awkward, so avoid it. And plus, just as an investing standpoint, you're not gonna be making any interest on that money. You'll be lucky to get paid back. But once again, if you actually could loan money to a complete stranger and make decent interest, that's where peer-to-peer lending comes into play. Now, how I became familiar with peer-to-peer lending, it all started with my blog. So when I started my blog back in 2008, I just was more exposed to all these different investment platforms that existed online. And one of the ones I kept reading about was this whole peer-to-peer lending concept. So interested and intrigued, I started doing some research, and that's when I learned, what it was. But for many of you, you may not know what peer-to-peer lending is. So let's explain it really quick. So how peer-to-peer lending works, like if you need a personal loan or if you need a traditional loan, you would typically think of going to your local bank or credit union, filling out some loan paperwork and seeing if they're willing to loan you the money and what that interest rate is. And that whole process can be daunting, it could be intimidating, it could be time consuming because you gotta take time out of your day, of your busy schedule and actually go in to this brick and mortar location and to fill out this loan. Now with peer-to-peer lending, instead of actually going into a brick and mortar building, you can go online and you can apply for the same type of loan online. But instead of going to a traditional bank, you're going to go to one of these online companies, and just with technology and the way things work, they just made it so much easier, have streamlined the process to where you can get a loan approved so much faster. And essentially that is what peer-to-peer lending is. Now you're probably wondering, well, how do you actually make money? Like who's making money in this process? Because in the old school model, the banks and the credit unions, they're the ones making the money because they're the ones loaning out that money and then charging you an interest rate. So in the case of peer-to-peer lending, the investor is you. So you're the one that's actually making the money because you are loaning or you are investing into the person that needs that loan. And with peer-to-peer lenders, what these online companies do is they are the mediator or that third party that makes it all possible. Okay, at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, I like the idea of cutting out the banks because you know what, those greedy, they don't need to make any more money. So if I can get a piece of the action, I'm all about it. But I'm a little bit worried because I don't want to loan my money to one person. Like what happens if they don't pay me back? Like that could get really awkward in a hurry. And you talk about family members being awkward and somebody don't pay me back, they got to answer to me. So they better be give my money back. That's my money.
Give me my money.
Well, I'm sure my people will be
in cash.
To illustrate how peer-to-peer lending works, my daughter has graciously volunteered her toys, her My Little Ponies, to illustrate how this works. So in a traditional loaning situation, you've got one person loaning another person that money. And that person that receives that loan, they're very happy, they're very appreciative that you've loaned them that money, and they just thank you very much. But when you go back to get your money and they don't want to pay you back or they don't have the money to pay you back, that's when it can get awkward in a hurry. You know what? And somebody's probably gonna get hurt. You better pay my money now. So that's how traditional loans work. You got one person loaning another person money. And if they don't pay you back, then yeah, you're gonna be having some words. But with peer-to-peer lending, instead of you giving one loan to one person, you're going to be giving microloans to many different people. So instead of giving that one person that one loan, you've got anywhere from 10, 20, 30, 40, on up to 1,000 different people, potentially, depending on how much money that you invest. But just like investing into a mutual fund that has, say, 100 different stocks, if 10 of those 100 different stocks loses money or goes belly up, you're not going to feel it as bad. It's going to hurt a little bit, but not like losing all your money into one stock. Same thing with peer-to-peer lending and with these micro loans. If you have 100 loans issued or 100 notes that you've invested into and 10 of those default, it's going to hurt. It's going to take away some of that return, but you're not going to lose all of your money. And that's why peer-to-peer lending has become so popular in the last several years. It's so easy for investors to get a good return on their money. It's easier for those that need to borrow money to apply and get approved for these personal loans. And the fact that interest rates continue to be at all-time lower levels where you're not getting decent returns on fixed income opportunities like bonds and CDs and other investments like that. It's an attractive opportunity to get a decent return compared to what's out there on the other markets. Okay, now that we understand how peer-to-peer lending works, why am I choosing LendingClub, or why should you consider LendingClub as your peer-to-peer lending investment platform? So first and foremost, LendingClub is the largest peer-to-peer lending company that exists. They have over 2 million customers and have issued over $33 billion in loans. That's 33 with a capital B. So for me, when I started investing in peer-to-peer lending, it was kind of a no-brainer to start with LendingClub. I mean, they are the largest, they are the most recognized. I have opened an account with Prosper, which is the second largest company and definitely one of their competitors. So I do have accounts with both, but most of my money that's invested in peer-to-peer lending is with LendingClub. All right, before I show you the returns that I've made on my other LendingClub accounts, and before I show you my investment strategy with this new $5,000, I first want to talk about the risk involved. Because there are risks involved investing into peer-to-peer lending, no matter if you choose LendingClub, Prosper, or any of the other peer-to-peer lenders that exist out there. So what are some of the risks? The first thing you got to know that these are unsecured notes. These are unsecured loans that people are applying for. So if they default or choose not to pay, then you do have the risk of not getting your money back. Now, if these people choose not to pay, if they're borrowing money, taking out a loan, and not honoring paying that back, this is going to kill their credit. This is just like not paying a credit card or not paying a car note. So for somebody to not pay on that loan, I mean, they're ruining their credit. So do know that. Another common question I get is, well, what happens if LendingClub were to go bankrupt? Then what happens? Well, there is no protection on these. So if LendingClub were to go belly up, yes, they could sell all these notes in the secondary market and you might get some of that money back, but don't plan on it. These notes are not insured by the FDIC or the SIPC. So if the company were to go bankrupt or the person were to default, you're going to lose your money. But that being said, you have to realize that most of the people that are taking out these loans, they're looking to refinance or pay off high interest credit cards. And the average credit score on most of these people is just below 700 at 699. So a lot of times people have this misconception that only people with really bad credit are applying for these loans, so there are a greater chance of defaulting. But that's entirely not the case. Most of these people are just trying to pay back some high interest debt and try to refinance so that they can either lower their payment and get rid of this debt a lot faster. As it pertains to risk, there's something else I have to mention in regards to LendingClub, and this is specifically for LendingClub and not the other peer-to-peer lenders. So there was a bit of a scandal that happened back in April of 2016. There was a LendingClub employee that reported directly to the LendingClub CEO, and they found that there were $3 million worth of notes that had been altered. And when they reported this, the internal auditor of LendingClub then ordered an external investigation, and they found out that there was an additional $22 million worth of notes that were sold to another investment bank that didn't meet the stringent LendingClub criteria in applying for these loans. In addition to that, the CEO had this company that was outside of LendingClub and was trying to sell it to LendingClub, but didn't feel the need to tell LendingClub that he had ownership in it. Well, that's kind of shady, my bud. So after the dust settled, the CEO was forced to resign, thank goodness. And since then, the LendingClub stock has suffered. It's trading about $4 a share, well below its IPO price that came out several years ago. But I'm not talking about investing into LendingClub stock in this video. What I'm talking about is investing into the notes. And that's where I still like them, especially if we're looking at something to complement the bonds or the fixed income holdings in your portfolio. Now that we got those formalities out of the way, we're gonna get to the part where you probably care about the most. How do you make money? How much interest are you gonna make? What can you expect to make? What does that look like? To show you how much I've actually made, I'm gonna share with you some of my older LendingClub accounts I've had open for several years, and you'll be able to see the actual return that I've made on my money. And then I'm gonna show you my new LendingClub account that I've funded with $5,000. And I'm gonna share with you my investment strategy and how I was able to determine how much I want to make depending on how much risk I'm willing to take. So that's what we're gonna get into right now. All right, so let's take a look at my LendingClub account. So this is the largest one of now the 3 accounts that I have. Just looking at this, I can tell that I haven't given this account the TLC, the tender loving care that it needs, that it deserves, and I'll explain that more here in a second. First, you can see that the current account value is $25,425. My net annualized return is 5.51%. Interest received is $13,176. And I'm going to show you the total payments that have been received. So total principal that has been paid back is $47,000. Interest is $13,000. I had to transfer something out of this account a few years ago. That's why you see some of these numbers, which doesn't really factor here. But the first thing that you're going to see is available cash. So I currently have over $2,200, $2,270.70 to be exact, that is sitting in cash. Now you can set up automated investing. At the time, I wasn't reinvesting back into notes automatically. I wanted to do it on my own. I don't know why. As busy as I get, I should have set it up automatic investing, just so now you know for your own account, however you want to do it. Now, some people don't want to do that because they want to get the cash and they want to keep that handy just in case. But you can do that automatically. Now, as far as the return goes, let me speak to that real quick. That is lower than I initially had hoped. When I first started this, I saw people that were making 7, 8, 9, double-digit returns. You'll still see some blog posts that talk about people making 12%. Can you do that? I guess you could. You have to go really, really risky with that. So it really just depends on what your risk tolerance is. And I'll explain that here probably right now. So you look at the current holdings. So the type of notes that I have. So with these, each borrower is giving a rating class, which I'll share more of this going forward. But as you can see with these notes that I own, with A notes, so these are like the best rated borrowers. I've got 8.6% in A notes. B is 17.8. C is 23.4. D is 25.1. And E is 13.5. I do have some there in F and G, but I have probably more in the ABC than for somebody that's trying to get higher return. That's one of the factors, but the biggest factor is the term. So right now, with LendingClub, when they first started this, they only offered the 36-month note or the 36-month loan, the 3-year loan. I'm not sure when they added this, but they added a 60-month loan, so a 5-year loan that people could apply for. And if you put more money in that 60-month note, a 60-month loan, you're going to get higher interest because it's a longer term. So right now you see I've got 86% in the 3-month notes and 13.5% in the 60-month notes. So if I had more in a longer term note, then the return would be or should be much higher than what you see now. So that's something that, going forward, I just want to be more conscious of that and probably need to log in to hear more to see. This has been kind of a set it and forget it investment account for me. Like I said, I put it in there. Every once in a while, I'll log back in and actually I can do it right now. So let's just show you. I'm going to show you this again. So we've got automatic investing, and I don't know if I should do this right now. I probably don't even know what I'm doing. So invest. So you can see the current allocation. So I have automatic return off, blended 36 months notes. And so if I want to do that, I could do that, or I could just invest as is. I think what I want to do, I could do it now, but I'm actually going to show you with the new account that I'm opening how I decide, the current allocation and how I'm going to invest. So kind of got a little ahead of myself there, but I'll show you in the next one how that's going to work out. But I still have another account I want to show you, a smaller account, which we'll look at right now. Okay, here's my other LendingClub account. As you can see, it is much smaller. I started this account, I think it was probably 3 years ago now. I put $1,000 into it to start. It's currently worth $1,220.35 for a net annualized return of 5.25%. Like the other account, I've got $377 sitting in cash that I need to invest, and I'm pretty sure I probably don't have automated investing on this one either. Similar to the other account, just looking at the holdings, similar, you can see the percentage of A, B, C, D, E, F notes. And then same thing with the term. With this one, I've got 92% in shorter term 3-month notes and 7.4% into 60-month notes. So that is, once again, it plays into the factor of why you're seeing such lower returns with these accounts. Now, once again, though, if you're not comfortable going that long, then I wouldn't, just for the sake of getting more return. You want to stay with what your comfort level is. But I could, alter this to having more in the lower grade notes to get that invested. So instead of having more in the A, B, and C. So anyway, and you can choose those. Like I said, I'm going to show you in the next account how I decided how my investment strategy is going to be, which we'll go ahead and go to that right now. All right, so with this new account, my goal was I wanted to get it as close to 7% return as I possibly could. And that's kind of the cool thing. If you are devising an automated investment strategy, you can just toggle, how much do you want in A, how much do you want in C, how much do you want in C, D, E, and F, so on and so forth, to get to the point where, you're getting to that closest return possible. Now, this is if you want to choose your own, or I guess you want to have like an ongoing investment strategy. But if you want to go in and choose the individual notes as well, you can do that. Now, what does that mean? Like, why would you ever want to do that? And I guess you'd want to do that if you want to have more control on what the notes are. Because I think you can actually dive in and see, what does the person need? What are they taking out the loan for? Like, what are they looking to use that money for? Is it to repay off a credit card? Is it to start a business? What is that? Now, and I don't know what the limits are here though, but you obviously don't want to give too much to one person. We've already talked about that, right? If that one person does default, like that's not a good thing. So you don't want to go down that direction. But for me, did I want to go like super aggressive, like 8, 9, 10%? 7% is where I was comfortable with, and that's where I'm going to stay here. I'm just going to make some adjustments to my other accounts, especially my larger one, to see if I can get a higher return closer to that 7%. And the way that I'm going to do that is to choose notes that are either paying a higher return. We talked about having a longer term, maybe a riskier grade. But yeah, so that's how it works. And it's super easy to get the account open, to get the account funded. And then as I've shown here, choosing that investment strategy, it's pretty dang easy. And you see this with a lot of the online platforms, that they just make it easy, because they assume that most of us are dumb. I'll throw myself in there as well. And they just want to make it easy for people to start investing, to start making interest. And that's how it works. Now, the one thing that actually, let me say this. So with LendingClub, you can open up a regular account. So what you've seen with me, I've got 2 taxable accounts. They're 2 individual accounts, and I have my 401k. It is a self-directed 401k, so it's actually kind of set up like a trust. That's a whole other story. But they do offer retirement accounts. So if you want to do a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, you can do that. You can also do custodial accounts. You can do 401k rollovers. Whatever type of account that you want to do, they can do it. Now, I don't know if I've stressed this, but I definitely want, a lot of people say, well, how much do you want to put in a LendingClub? With the total amounts that you see with, the 25,000 in one account, 5,000 in the other, 1,000. So you're looking at $31,000 total. That represents for me less than 5% of actually probably even less than that, but let's just say like my retirement accounts and my investment accounts, like less than 5%, probably closer to 3% of everything that I have. Would I be comfortable going more into peer-to-peer lending or with LendingClub? I would cut it off at 10%. I don't think I would go any more than that. But I think just as another option, I just like it to where you can have it's just a different investment option, you know. And with the last few years, the stock market going crazy and Bitcoin going crazy, you know, when you look at 5.5% or potentially 7% for most people, like that doesn't seem like enough. Like that's it. But there is going to be a time where the stock market does get back to normal, and you're not going to see these double-digit high returns. Cryptocurrency is going to, you know, eventually kind of mellow out a little bit. Yeah, I said it. It's going to mellow out. So this is definitely, you know, just another option. Is it right for everybody? No. And if you're a younger Bitcoin crazy investor, you're probably thinking this is boring. I can make 7% in an afternoon. I get it. You know, this doesn't work for everybody, but you know, for me, it is a nice addition to my other investments that I have. And if you're curious on that, you can see some of the other videos where I talk about what I own and the types of investments that I have. So anyway, that is LendingClub. That's how it works. I'm curious, you know, do you have a LendingClub account? Have you tried peer-to-peer lending? Would it be something that you would consider? I want to know. Hit me up in the comments below and let me know if you've tried out peer-to-peer lending, if it's something that you're considering. You know, have you opened an investment or have you opened a LendingClub account? And if so, what has your experience been? What have your returns been? All right, well, I hope this was helpful. I always try to educate and just share just different investment strategies that people can test out to see what works for them. Just remember, every investment doesn't make sense for everybody, but there are investments that make sense for your situation. You just gotta do the time, put in the time, the research to figure out what that is for you. All right, this is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, your life, and only you can make it awesome. And if you haven't liked this video, you can go ahead and do that now and subscribe because I've got more great content coming your way. Until next time, peace. How do you make money? I just burped. That was a good one. For somebody don't pay my money back, you know, I'm not enunciating. I'm not enunciating. You know.